pregunta es, ¿cómo definiría usted las cualidades de un buen líder?
Para mí un buen líder es una persona que escucha bien, who has good listening skills, y una persona I'm gonna have to go to English. And a person that not only leads but sometimes sits back and follows. Also, there's someone that also will listen to not only the folks on the top, but also listen to the folks on the bottom. And probably a leader, to me, the leader is also to challenge when the institution or the structure really is not going in the right direction. I think, some of us who just follow are really, even though we call ourselves leaders, are not real leaders. I think you have to challenge the structure and the institution for the betterment of the folks or the individuals they're serving, in addition to the structure kind of thing. One of the things, I know this question will come up, but one of the things is I grew up in a youth group in Hartford of mostly Latino students, and most of us were all poor. And one of the things we learned early from these priests who were very much Latin, they studied in Latin America and Puerto Rico, is you got to challenge the structure in order to make it fair to everyone, kind of thing. And so that's kind of the leadership style I've taken. I mean, I love this institution, don't get me wrong, but I do challenge the institution to make sure students are getting a fair shake, that we're not just kicking out everybody just because, that one semester they're not doing well.
¿Qué experiencia más importante tuvo en su vida que le inspiró a sobresalir como líder?
I think la experiencia mía que me ayudó a ser líder fue los años in the youth group. We call it the Sacred Heart. It's a church, but it was a very activist church. Some of us went because of the religion, and some of us went because there was tutoring there. We got out of the city, we got to go to Washington, to Canada. For many of us in the north end of Hartford, that was it. We didn't even cross over to the south end. So all the learning I did through that youth group to become a leader, they gave you roles so you would become leader in the youth. We had a youth group and we met, I mean for like 12 years we met every Sunday in a church basement. We took trips, we protested. We protested in Groton, we protested in Washington. So it was those experiences that taught me, that I like to be a leader, but I like to be a leader that helps out a community, that would challenge whatever institution or organization. Sometimes we challenged a lot the Hartford Board of Education, because I got to tell you, I went from, and this is an awful story, but me and my brother went from 8th grade to 12th grade, and all this time we learned English, and they threw us into bilingual education. It took a year for my mom to get us out of bilingual education. So talk about some pain I felt in school for a while. I spent a little more time skipping than I went, because I didn't know the Spanish at the level that a lot of those young people did, but they were trying to fill them with students. So a lot of those experiences gave me, angered me on one end, but on the other, inspire me to want to do more, to want to help myself, to want to help some of the younger people, younger students behind me, and just to help my family. One of the things that I do now, and I say this, is I'm always throwing the rope behind me, because when I die, I just want to know that there's people behind me that are going to carry on in helping society, helping especially those who are less fortunate than I.
¿Cómo define el presente y el futuro de la comunidad latina en Connecticut?
Well, I think this is a good question, because we were having it yesterday, that we have a large Latino population going into the middle class.
Mhm.
But from an educational and even an economic, just because they're middle class because of the income they're making, I'm not sure we have been educated in a sophisticated way to understand what it means to be. I think we're in debt, if you look at different populations, I think Latinos are in a lot more debt than they should be, kind of thing. From an education perspective, a lot of those young people are struggling.
Mhm.
You know, and we've looked at a lot of middle class Latinos, and the same same academic issues we had, our kids are having.
So just
You know, you look at their essay, we were looking at SATs and we're like, you know, I thought these kids would be scoring, 1,200. Some of us scored 8, some of us scored 9, a couple of us scored up, but our kids are scoring the same thing. So even though I see a great future, for Latinos, I'm not sure we're having some serious discussions about these other generations and how they're doing. I think classes like the classes you guys are involved, hopefully will help us to say, it's not the traditional like the Italians and the Irish, as time goes on, things will, economically and socially and politically, people will integrate. Because we have so many people coming out of South and Latin, and Puerto Rico refuses to enculturate, they're like, we're going to keep our language, we're going to keep our culture. So our kids struggle with those language and cultures, whether I'm Latino or whether I'm American. And I have 2 young people who kind of struggle with those issues, and we help them through. But I think there's a great future for the Latino population, especially since we will be a majority in some 15, 20 years. But I think there are some educational and economic issues that, unless the discussions happen, I think we're gonna have some problems. We're gonna have some serious problems. I gotta tell you, at Central, we've done a great job of bringing Latino faculty, bringing Latino administrators, and then within that group, we have an association of Latinos and Latino faculty and administrators, and we advocate for our students on campus. Lasso has been always a strong group here, so I think we got to find mechanisms or channel to bring some more of our Latino students to the college ranks and get them educated and back out into their societies, and to make sure they help those behind them, kind of things. So.
La próxima pregunta es, ¿cuáles son los recursos que son disponibles a latinos en Central Connecticut?
En Central, lo bueno es que tenemos mucha más facultad latina, tenemos administradores en Student Affairs, los tenemos en Financial Aid, los tenemos en admisión. Hay mucho más, el estudiante sabe y la familia sabe que si necesita ayuda, hay un latino o una persona que puede hablar español con ellos. Tenemos 2 programas, uno es el EOP y muchos de los estudiantes latinos vienen por el EOP, pero tenemos otro que le decimos el CONCAST, y es un CONCAST specifically para latinos. Cada verano traemos 25 latinos estudiantes y ellos se quedan con nosotros aquí en campus, y le damos un curso en inglés, en matemática, en study skills.